LGB. 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 LGB.
They say LGB everywhere I go. LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB. Whatever it is. LGB. Kamala, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
Thank you. LGB.
That's let's go, Brandon, right?
LGB.
This means let's go, Brandon.
No. LGB.
Sounds like let's go, Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. If you don't sing, get back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas, this July 2nd, 2024 at 3:38 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I apologize for my tardiness. I had it scheduled to go off at 3 p.m. I was planning to record it. I didn't get enough time to record it. I said, okay, I'll just do it live. And then I forgot to let everybody know that my schedule would make it so that doing it live meant that I would have to do it 38 minutes late. It's a little bit later than I like to be. I apologize. That is not like me, but I really am committed to getting more epic threads in front of all of you wonderful people. The rest of this show will be brought to you without commercial interruption. But first, I want to tell you about Rainfall, my friends. Rainfall is the greatest lotion the world has ever known. It consists of organic aloe vera juice mixed with thickening agents and food-grade plant oils, a little bit of vitamin E oil, and the delicious essential oil scent of benzoin, which is a vanilla-ish scent, also very woodsy in nature. It just makes dead skin tumble from you, and you can use it all the time because it absorbs instantly. I'm so glad to have it. This has been a labor of love, an expensive labor of love. Formulation is a bitch, guys, but I do recommend it when you succeed. And now, so here's the call to action for that. Go to tulipblooms.shop. You can also go to rainfall.life. You can also go to epicminerals.net. I think we're going to put it on there soon. But the real place to go for Rainfall is tulipblooms.shop, my wife's wonderful skincare website. And now, without further ado, the only piece for today from badlands.substack.com. Bad Actors. What Makes a Good Movie? By Joe Lange. No matter how good a movie script is, if the actors are bad, then the movie will be a disappointment. Guess who is the most disappointed right now? The cabal of elite puppet masters. They are in disbelief at how fast they are losing control of the world that they had enslaved. The enemy had a script that they were going by called the 16-Year Plan, which was designed to destroy America and the Constitution. I talked about that in my last article. Part of that script involved starting World War III between the United States and Russia in order to eliminate a large portion of the world population to make it easier for the cabal of elites to maintain control. It would also eliminate the two biggest threats to their control, which are Russia and the United States Constitution. Why was this World War so important for the cabal of puppet masters? Everything is connected. The entire worldwide financial debt system based on Federal Reserve notes fiat money is going bankrupt. The cabal needs a new Great Reset. They need a new financial system to replace the current one that is failing. War is used as the distraction for the people and the excuse for a new global reset. This has happened several times in history. Both world wars were used to cull the world's population and to launch a new global reset. But things have changed. They aren't going to get their world war this time, and Trump is purposely bankrupting the system as the BRICS Plus nations build the new financial system that is no longer centralized. This new system also protects countries' sovereignty and is based on honest money, backed by gold or other commodities. All of the cabal's plans were destroyed when Trump won the election in 2016 and took away their control of the most powerful position in the world. Q asked this question in Q drop number 199 of November 2nd, 2017, U1. CA, EU, Asia, Iran, NK. Where did it end up? What was the purpose? Who was supposed to win the election of 2016? Hillary was not supposed to lose that election. Obama had played his part of the 16-year plan to weaken the United States and destroy the Constitution. Now it was supposed to be Hillary's turn to finish the job. They were never supposed to relinquish control of the commander-in-chief position in the United States. They now no longer control the greatest military in the world, and because of that, they are more vulnerable than they have ever been. They failed because good actors prevented Hillary's election. Her loss came as a total surprise to the cabal. Why? They didn't believe there was any possible way for her to lose because the election was already rigged. The enemy has been rigging elections for a long time, but this time they vastly underestimated how much Hillary was hated in America and how much Trump is loved. Their fraud wasn't enough to steal the election in 2016. It shocked them, which is why Hillary never gave a concession speech. Most people don't know that Obama was going to prevent Trump from taking office, but it was stopped by the military. What was Obama preparing to do? From Q drop number 36 of November 2nd, 2017. These are crumbs, and you cannot imagine the full and complete picture. If Trump failed, if we failed, and HRC assumed control, we, as patriots, were prepared to do the unthinkable. This was leaked internally and kept the delegate recount scam and Barack Obama from declaring fraud. Dig deeper. Missing critical points to paint the full picture. There is simply no other way than to use the military. It's that corrupt and dirty. Please be safe and pray for those in harm's way as they continually protect and serve our great country. The military was prepared to do the unthinkable, a planned military coup to remove the Obama administration along with corrupt politicians. This plan was purposely leaked to Obama and his officials as a warning if they tried to prevent Trump from being declared the winner. They backed down. Hillary was never going to be allowed to become president. The military was going to make sure of that. They valued their oath and deserve credit for that. But I would like to make an important point. The military stepped in behind the scenes to prevent the enemy from stealing the election in 2016. Trump was president and commander-in-chief of the military in 2020. Why didn't Trump's military step in again to prevent the stolen election in 2020? They certainly had the power to prevent it, but instead they allowed it to happen. Why? The plan was always to let them steal the election so that Biden would be installed and become a millstone around the Democrats' neck. They would use Biden to expose the corruption in every system, including elections and the justice system. I wrote about how Trump helped choose Biden as the Democrat nominee in my article titled The Chosen One. The stolen election has helped ignite an awakening among the public from a deep slumber. The American people know Biden didn't get 81 million votes and also know that he is corrupt. The large majority of Americans have turned against the Democrats, and our numbers grow daily. It is a beautiful thing to witness. I would like to make another point. What Biden is doing is not part of the 16-year plan. The plan was to start World War III between the US and Russia so that both countries would be devastated. It's not going to happen. Regardless of how much rhetoric we hear from Biden, it's a narrative war. Starting a war based on Russia getting the blame for a bomb going off in America is completely different than wanting to go to war against Russia over Ukraine. The enemy can't sell that to the American people. What Biden is destroying is the Democrat Party, and there's nothing the Democrats can do to stop it. Even the media are having a hard time defending Biden, as they know the American people have turned against him. Their poll numbers are a complete disaster. And underestimate the red wave that is coming. The Great Awakening is real, and we are witnessing it. But who was controlling this 16-year plan by the enemy? Do you remember the questions I asked at the end of my last article? Here's one. Who was the biggest contributor to the Clinton Foundation? There were a lot of contributors to the Clinton Foundation over the years, but one was the largest and expected the most for his contribution. From Q drop number 10 of October 29th, 2017. What countries donated big money to CF and why? How much was owed by accepting? When she lost, how would this be repaid? What did Obama do with cash just prior to leaving office? Repayment to those who donated for favors/access. Dig. Again, good people were forced into bed with this evil under personal and family threats. Could you live with yourself helping to cover up such evil, despicable acts if given a safe way out? These people worship Satan. Some openly show it. Everything is connected. There's a reason that both Hillary and Obama were part of the 16-year plan and were so deeply connected to both the Uranium One deal and the Iran nuclear deal. Both were puppets and were being controlled by the same person. Let's connect some dots. Here's more from Q drop number 36 of November 2nd, 2017. Who owes a lot to very bad actors? How can she repay, as payment was made under promise of victory? What cash payments occurred by BO during the last 90 days of his presidency to foreign states and or organizations? Did Obama make cash payments to foreign states or organizations at the last minute in order to pay back their puppet master? Hillary owed a lot of money to bad actors who had donated to the Clinton Foundation and were assuming she would become the next president. She made a lot of promises to those people who were donating big money to her private little piggy bank. One bad actor in particular was not only disappointed that she lost, but demanded his money back. Why? Because puppet masters don't lose their money. They control governments, and governments are their personal piggy banks. Obama made sure that his puppet master got paid back with taxpayer money. This really bad actor who had contributed to the Clinton Foundation was expecting her to win the election so that he could control the presidency once again. He expected both Hillary and Obama to ensure an election victory. He was the one controlling the 16-year plan because he controlled both Obama and Hillary. How did this really bad actor get paid back? According to The Hill, quote, the Obama administration sent $221 million to the Palestinian Authority on Friday as President Obama prepared to leave the White House for the last time, the Associated Press reports. The outgoing administration formally notified Congress of the decision just hours before President Trump was inaugurated. End quote. Does anybody remember that? Just hours before Trump took office, Obama gave $221 million of taxpayer money to the Palestinian Authority. Why the Palestinian Authority? We don't hear much about the Palestinian Authority since Hamas took over Gaza, but it's important to know who the Palestinian Authority is and why Obama would give so much of the taxpayers' money to them at the last minute. According to Newsweek, quote, the PA has long incentivized violence with the infamous pay to slay program. Perversely, the program is even enshrined in its laws. In 2004, the PA passed a law that guaranteed salaries for convicted terrorists and their families. The legislation specified that, quote, prisoners and released prisoners are a fighting sector and integral part of the fabric of Arab-Palestinian society. In 2010, the PA passed a series of resolutions stipulating that every Palestinian inmate in an Israeli prison who is convicted of a terrorism-related offense is to receive a monthly payment. In 2013, the PA's prime minister at the time, Rami Hamdallah, amended the law offering additional benefits to prisoners upon their release. For example, any male ex-prisoner who was incarcerated for 10 or more years and every female ex-prisoner who served 5 years is entitled to a position in the PA. End quote. Obama gave a lot of taxpayers' money to a governing body in Gaza that has a pay-to-slay program to pay terrorists and their families for violence against the Israeli people. They have made it the law of the land in Gaza, and it has been known for many years. Was this the money being paid back to the bad actor who controlled Hillary and Obama? According to The Independent, quote, the Trump administration has reportedly frozen a multi-million-dollar aid package granted to the Palestinian Authority in the final hours of Barack Obama's presidency. Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah was told by U.S. officials not to expect the $220 million payout earlier this week, the Times of Israel reported, citing a senior PA source. Mr. Obama had overruled Congress to make the decision, with the money intended to support good governance and humanitarian aid, end quote. This wasn't something planned. Obama overruled Congress and made a last-minute payout to the Palestinian Authority as he left office. Why was it so important? Because they didn't expect Hillary to lose. Trump then canceled it. More money flow disruption. Was this money really just for good governance and humanitarian aid? Was it really going to the Palestinian Authority? More from The Independent, quote, the House was informed by former Secretary of State John Kerry hours before Mr. Trump's inauguration. Acting State Department spokesperson Mark Toner told The Independent, quote, in a final act, then Secretary of State John Kerry instructed U.S. aid to release $220.3 million for Gaza recovery programs, end quote. So, Obama's Secretary of State told U.S. aid to give almost $221 million to Gaza recovery programs. U.S. aid is just a CIA front group and always has been. I covered that in my article titled The Difference Between Friend and Foe. U.S. aid has been a taxpayer slush fund for the CIA since its inception. Here's how much money was designated to the State Department and U.S. aid in Obama's budget proposal in 2016, his last year in office. Foreignassistance.gov, data last updated 5/31/2024, funding agency listed here. It was almost $33 billion. The State Department and U.S. aid go hand in hand because both are controlled by the CIA. The CIA was getting by far the most foreign aid money. That's one of the ways we were funding our enemies. Who was controlling the CIA? As I've been saying, when Trump became president, al-Walid bin Talal controlled the CIA, which is why he was Trump's biggest threat. So, why did Obama feel obligated to pay back Hillary's debt to al-Walid? He was following orders from his puppet master, from Q-drop number 199 of November 22nd, 2017. Who paid for B.O. to attend Harvard? Why would this occur pre-political days? Who was the biggest contributor to the CF? Q connected Obama's Harvard education with contributions to the Clinton Foundation because they were obligations to the same person. I will get deeper into the Clinton Foundation in a coming article. Al-Walid controlled both U.S. and UK politicians, which gave him control of both governments. But who was the biggest politician that al-Walid ever controlled? A portion of Q-drop number 1948 of August 28, 2018. Who paid Hussein to attend Harvard Law School? Who is Prince al-Walid bin Talal? Why would Prince al-Walid bin Talal, Saudi royal, pay Hussein to attend Harvard Law School? Was Hussein a prominent political figure or a person of influence at the time? No. Why hasn't the media ever told us that Prince al-Walid funded Obama's Harvard education? Why was it so important to hide that fact from the American people? According to Politico, quote, Barack Obama's campaign is flatly denying a story told by former Manhattan Borough President Percy Sutton, who cast an ex-Black Panther turned Muslim businessman and lecturer as a key Obama mentor, but whose story seems off in at least one key detail. Sutton, now in his late 80s and mostly off the public stage, told NY1's Dominic Carter that he was asked to write a letter of recommendation to Harvard Law School on Obama's behalf by a man named Khalid al-Mansour of Texas, the principal advisor to one of the world's richest men who was also raising money for Obama. Obama spokesman Ben Labolt told Politico that, quote, Obama did not know and does not know Khalid al-Mansour, end quote. This story is a huge deal. Barack Obama and everyone connected to him feared this story getting out. They were doing everything they could to deny this story and even portrayed this longtime Democrat operative as being old and senile. They had someone to claim to be a spokesperson for his family, who was then telling the media that the whole family said Sutton had retracted the story, which was a lie. Obama claimed he didn't even know Khalid al-Mansour and had never met him. This connection was the type of exposure that could have derailed the cabal's 16-year plan. This Politico story was written to help hide the connection to al-Mansour and make the story go away because it may have ended Obama's presidential run. More from Politico, quote, Labolt said Obama doesn't have a relationship with Sutton and that, to our knowledge, no such letter was written. Obama was in Chicago, not New York, when he applied to Harvard. Sutton's story is particularly difficult to follow at one point, that al-Mansour was raising money for Obama. Obama attended Harvard with the help of student loans, as the Sun-Times' Lynn Sweet reported in detail at one point, writing that he had $42,753 in debt. Mansour said he admires Obama, but first heard of him when a relative sent him a copy of Obama's 2004 convention speech. I've never met him, he said. End quote. These are all well scripted lies. There are zero records of Obama taking out any student loan to go to Harvard or that he was in any debt. That is just one of the many reasons that Obama's records are sealed and hidden from the public. But why was Obama desperately trying to distance himself from Khalid al-Mansour? And why did al-Mansour claim that he never met Obama? Does anybody really believe that he would be raising money for him if they had never met? What are they hiding? Who is Khalid Abdullah Tariq al-Mansour? According to Newsmax, quote, al-Mansour's rise to fame and fortune began with an introduction to the Saudi king in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in 1977. Quote, I was asked by a Saudi friend, he was a student down in Newport, California, to go home with him to Riyadh, al-Mansour told Newsmax. End quote. Al-Mansour was introduced to the king of Saudi Arabia back in 1977 by a, quote, Saudi friend he met in California. Guess who was going to Menlo College back in 1977? And was probably living in the Newport area because it is a wealthy enclave in California. More from Newsmax, quote, he met and befriended Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, the world's 19th wealthiest person, when the prince was studying at Menlo College in California in the late 1970s. Al-Mansour's law partner was representing the prince in a court case in California. After getting a degree in business administration from Menlo in 1979, Prince Al-Walid went back to Saudi Arabia, determined to become extremely successful, Al-Mansour recalled. Al-Mansour said he is aware of Percy Sutton's revelations that identified him as raising money for Obama's law school education when the presidential candidate was 25. But I've never confirmed it, he said. End quote. Al-Mansour was friends with Prince Al-Walid going back to the 1970s. What a coincidence. When asked about Percy Sutton's interview that revealed he was raising money for Obama's Harvard education, Al-Mansour still denies it. Is he telling the truth? Why would he not want to be associated with the new political rising star of the Democrat Party? Seems strange, doesn't it? There's always more to the story. According to another Newsmax article, quote, new evidence has emerged that Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama was closely associated as early as age 25 to a key advisor to a Saudi billionaire who had mentored the founding members of the Black Panthers, end quote. So, Khalid al-Mansour was a key advisor to Prince Al-Walid? No wonder Obama and al-Mansour both were denying ever knowing each other or having met. Puppet masters are supposed to stay hidden, not be exposed, funding the education of the future president of the United States. Percy Sutton wasn't supposed to mention any of this publicly, ever. More from Newsmax, quote, Sutton, the founder of Inner City Broadcasting, said al-Mansour contacted him to ask a favor. Would Sutton write a letter in support of Obama's application to Harvard Law School? He wrote to me about him, Sutton recalled, and his introduction was there is a young man that has applied to Harvard. I know that you have a few friends up there because you used to go up there to speak. Would you please write a letter in support of him? End quote. Al-Mansour didn't just introduce Percy Sutton to a young Obama. He also asked him to write a letter of recommendation to his friends at Harvard in order to get Obama accepted. More from Newsmax. Sutton said he acted on his friend Al-Mansour's advice. I wrote a letter of support of him to my friends at Harvard, saying to them I thought there was a genius that was going to be available, and I certainly hoped they would treat him kindly, Sutton told NY1. Sutton did not say why Al-Mansour was helping Obama, how he discovered him, or from whom he was raising money on Obama's behalf, end quote. Aren't those some good questions to ask? Why was Al-Mansour helping Obama? How did he meet him, and who really wanted him to try and raise money for Obama? It was obviously Prince Al-Walid, as Q already suggested. More from Newsmax. Quote, As it turned out, Obama did attend Harvard Law School after graduating from Columbia University in New York and doing a stint as a community organizer in Chicago, end quote. If you ever wondered why Obama was such a Marxist, you just need to know that in his formative years, he graduated from Columbia University, which is known for turning out young, know-nothing Marxists. He was also a community organizer in Chicago and then got help from a known Marxist who mentored the Black Panther political organization. Al-Mansour helped him get into Harvard and raised money for him because of his family background, which is deeply tied to the CIA, which al-Walid controlled. More on that in a coming article. He was being groomed. There is no bigger example of a puppet being groomed to be installed at the highest position in the United States than Barack Obama. More from Newsmax, quote, "The New York Times described how transformative his Harvard experience became for the young Obama. He arrived there as an unknown, afro-wearing community organizer who had spent years searching for his identity. By the time he left, he had his first national news media exposure, a book contract, and a shot of confidence from running the most powerful legal journal in the country," end quote. Isn't that amazing? A guy who couldn't get into Harvard on his merits or afford it and was an unknown, was suddenly given a book deal which gave him media attention along with personal wealth. He was also put in charge of the Harvard Law Review. Doesn't that raise an important question? Did Barack Obama really write his own book or even run the Harvard Law Review? His puppet master was really pulling some strings on his behalf. Did you know that Khalid Al-Mansour, aka Donald Warden, is an author and has written a lot of books, mostly anti-American topics promoting racism and division? What are the odds that Al-Mansour wrote Obama's book to raise him some money and elevate him politically? I bet the odds are pretty high. I'll also bet the odds are pretty high that Al-Mansour was helping the unknown Obama run the Harvard Law Review too. More from Newsmax, quote, "The details of Obama's academic performance are well known. At Harvard, Obama rose to academic distinction, becoming the editor of the Harvard Law Review and graduating magna cum laude. Less known are the reasons Al-Mansour, an activist African-American Muslim, would be a key backer for a young man from Hawaii seeking to attend the most Ivy of the Ivy League law schools," end quote. Sorry, but the details of Obama's academic performance are not well known. What the public does know is what they've been told. That doesn't make it true. Everything about Obama was a lie to the American people to make him acceptable. His school records were sealed. What is he hiding? Q drop number 4750 of September 23rd, 2020. Who controls, wields significant influence, the Clinton D party. WikiLeaks.org, Clinton emails, email ID 22919, WikiLeaks.org, Clinton emails, email ID 24651. Who controls, wields significant influence, the Hussein D party. WikiLeaks.org, Clinton emails, email ID 3480. Different factions of foreign primary control. Who paid Hussein's Harvard Law degree? Who financed Hussein's political life? Who is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? Why are Hussein's school records under seal? Competing factions, each with a horse in the race, seeking direct WH control. U.S. Mill. Trillions overseas transfer of U.S. taxpayer funds. All working together. Coordinated. Infiltration, not invasion. V_HA. What happens to U.S. taxpayer funds transferred overseas under guise of aid, military, climate, etc.? U.S. taxpayers funding the destruction of America? Q. This is an important Q drop. Al-Walid controlled the Democrat Party under both Hillary and Obama. This drop reveals how much power Al-Walid had over our government. That's why he was Trump's biggest threat and needed to be taken off of the chessboard first. Quote, different factions of foreign primary control. Who paid Hussein's Harvard Law degree? Who financed Hussein's political life? Who is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? Why are Hussein's school records under seal? End quote. Q tied Al-Walid directly to Obama's Harvard education, which gave him the pedigree needed to be installed as the President of the United States. Q says there are competing factions for control of the White House. Soros was a big backer of Hillary way back in 2008, while Al-Walid had groomed Obama to become president. Al-Walid was more powerful than Soros because Al-Walid controlled the CIA. What were the two puppet masters competing for? Competing factions, each with a horse in the race, seeking direct White House control. U.S. Mill, trillions overseas transfer of U.S. taxpayer funds, all working together. Coordinated infiltration, not invasion. VJ_HA. What happens to U.S. taxpayer funds transferred overseas under guise of aid, mill, climate, etc.? U.S. taxpayer funding the destruction of America. Q. End quote. It is always about the money because money equals power. White House control equals U.S. military plus trillions of overseas transfer of U.S. taxpayer funds. Most of the funds going overseas do not go towards what is being told to the American people, all working together. Coordinated infiltration, not invasion. VJ, Valerie Jarrett. HA, Huma Abedin. Everything is connected. We are fighting an insurgency infiltration within our government, not an invasion. But why did Q mention Valerie Jarrett and Huma Abedin right after that? Answer, they were the handlers for Obama and Hillary, and I will prove their connections to Prince Al-Walid in a coming article that will open the door to many things. Everything is connected. Do you think Obama was the only president that Al-Walid controlled? Guess what other president sent taxpayers' money overseas to fund our enemies? You'll never guess where it ended up. Have you ever heard the name Stuart W. Bowen Jr.? From the Boston Globe, quote, not long after American forces defeated the Iraqi government of Saddam Hussein in 2003, caravans of trucks began to arrive at Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington on a regular basis, unloading an unusual cargo, pallets of shrink-wrapped $100 bills. The cash withdrawn from Iraqi government accounts held in the United States was loaded onto Air Force C-17 transport planes bound for Baghdad, where the Bush administration hoped it would provide a quick financial infusion for Iraq's new government and the country's battered economy. Over the next year and a half, $12 billion to $14 billion was sent to Iraq in the airlift, and an additional $5 billion was sent by electronic transfer. Exactly what happened to that money after it arrived in Baghdad became one of the many unanswered questions from the chaotic days of the American occupation, when billions were flowing into the country from the United States and corruption was rampant. End quote. I had mentioned this story at the very end of my article titled Profiting from War, but I didn't give the full story. Tens of billions of dollars in cash were flown to Iraq by President George W. Bush. Why didn't they just send all of the money by electronic transfer? Because cash is harder to trace. Most of the money disappeared and nobody seemed to care, except, of course, Stuart W. Bowen Jr. More from the Boston Globe. Finding the answer became first the job and then the obsession of Stuart W. Bowen Jr., a friend from Texas of President George W. Bush, who in 2004 was appointed to serve as a special inspector general to investigate corruption and waste in Iraq. Before his office was finally shut down last year, Mr. Bowen believed he might have succeeded, but only partly, in that mission. End quote. Bush had placed his friend from Texas, Stuart Bowen Jr., as a special IG to investigate corruption and waste in Iraq. Why? Because Congress was investigating all the waste and fraud of taxpayers' money in the Iraq War. I'm sure Bush thought his friend would make the story go away, but Mr. Bowen was actually a man of character and put his country over his friendship. More from the Boston Globe. Quote, much of the money was probably used by the Iraqi government in some way, he concluded, but for years, Mr. Bowen could not account for billions more until his investigators finally had a breakthrough, discovering that $1.2 billion to $1.6 billion had been stolen and moved to a bunker in rural Lebanon for safekeeping. I don't know how the money got to Lebanon, Mr. Bowen said. If I knew that, we would have made more progress on the case. End quote. He had tracked down part of the stolen money and discovered it had found its way to a bunker in Lebanon, which is the home base of Hezbollah and also the place where al-Walid was raised as a young child and has many family connections. Do you think those are just coincidences? Bush was funding terrorism long before Obama flew billions of dollars into Iran in the middle of the night. While Bush was creating the phony image of himself waging war against terrorism, he was funding those same terrorist groups. We were funding our enemies. Why haven't the American people been told this important information? More from the Boston Globe. Quote, Mr. Bowen kept the discovery and his investigation of the cash-filled bunker in Lebanon, which his office codenamed Brick Tracker, secret. He has never publicly discussed it until now, and his frustration that neither he nor his investigators can fully account for the missing money was evident in a series of interviews. Billions of dollars have been taken out of Iraq over the last 10 years illegally, he said, in this investigation. We thought we were on the track for some of the lost money. It's disappointing to me personally that we were unable to close the case for reasons beyond our control. End quote. They were stopped from further investigation. The rug was pulled out from under them after they tracked a lot of money to Lebanon. Why? More from the Boston Globe. Quote, he is equally frustrated that the Bush administration, apart from his office, never investigated reports that huge amounts of money had disappeared, and that after his investigators found out about the bunker, the Obama administration did not pursue that lead either. Mr. Bowen said his investigators briefed the CIA and the FBI on what they found, but Mr. Bowen added that he believed one reason American officials had not gone after it was, quote, because it was Iraqi money stolen by Iraqis, end quote. Bush and Obama couldn't care less that billions of dollars had been stolen, or that some of it wound up in the hands of terrorists while we were supposedly in a never-ending war on terror. It shouldn't surprise anybody. Both of them were puppets of al-Walid's, who was also controlling the terrorist groups through his control of the CIA. But do not miss that last line in his quote. This is an important reveal. When it was discovered by Congress and the public that billions of dollars were stolen in Iraq, the enemy quickly created a narrative. What was it? It's Iraq's money. So who cares if Iraqis are stealing it? Really? They were doing one of two things. The CIA shadow government was either stealing taxpayers' money or they were pilfering and stealing the wealth from the Iraqi people. Which is it? Maybe it's both. This is the scam Q often references. Foreign aid is being stolen to fund our enemies, and that's been going on for a very long time. According to shadowproof.com, quote, Risen reports that in the first days after the fall of Baghdad and continuing for over a year, American proconsul Paul Bremer, on his own, somehow ordered $12 to $14 billion. Note the uncertainty factor of $2 billion, itself a crime, to be sent to Iraq in the airlift, and an additional $5 billion was sent by electronic transfer. Some sources put the total as high as $20 billion. We did not know that Bremer was flying in all that cash, said the head of the Treasury Department team that worked on Iraq's financial reconstruction after the invasion. I can't see a reason for it. End quote. This is an important point. The Treasury didn't know why Bremer authorized all of that cash to be flown to Iraq. There was no reason for it unless your plan is to make it easier to steal. The CIA shadow government controlled this cash flow into and out of Iraq. More from shadowproof.com. Quote, even the Iraqi government has not tried to retrieve the money and has kept information about the Lebanese bunker secret. When Bowen and his staff tried to move the search into Lebanon themselves, he met with resistance from the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. Bowen himself was not allowed to travel to Lebanon, and two of his investigators who did travel were denied permission from the embassy to see the bunker. Bowen's staff members instead met with Lebanon's prosecutor general, who initially agreed to cooperate on an investigation but later decided against it. End quote. President George W. Bush never really wanted to investigate the stolen cash. It was a complete whitewash to make the congressional investigations go away. How much money was potentially stolen? More from shadowproof.com. Quote, of all the missing money, by 2011, the Pentagon and the Iraqi government claimed to have accounted for all but $6 billion of it, as if missing the target by 6 billion spaces is an okay result. And even that assumes one believes the Pentagon and Iraqi audit. How did all that money go missing? That, at least, is something we know. U.S. officials claimed in the early days of the war that they didn't have time or staff to keep strict financial controls. Millions of dollars were stuffed in gunny sacks and hauled on pickups to Iraqi agencies or contractors. Officials have testified. House Government Reform Committee investigators charged in 2005 that U.S. officials, quote, used virtually no financial records to account for these enormous cash withdrawals once they arrived in Iraq, and there is evidence of substantial waste, fraud, and abuse in the actual spending and disbursement of the Iraqi funds. End quote. The shadow government was using no financial controls for all of this cash, and that was on purpose. They robbed both the American people and the Iraqi people of their wealth and used it to fund our enemies. Speaking of stealing the wealth from other countries, I was going to talk about Libya in this article, but I need to set the table first. I will go into Libya in my next article. Al-Walid controlled a lot of bad actors, and that gave him a lot of power. By controlling presidents, Al-Walid controlled the government and the country. That also gave him control of the military, along with the worldwide financial debt system. This infiltration had been going on for generations and had finally reached a tipping point. The military had stepped in to prevent Hillary from becoming president, and now they are executing a plan to remove this insurgency and the puppet masters who control it. Here's a cue drop explaining this critical juncture in our history. This drop happened just 4 days before Al-Walid would be arrested in Saudi Arabia, along with hundreds of his allies. Cue drop number 31 of November 2nd, 2017. World stalemate. We all have the goods on everyone else. That's part of the reason why some things that tie back to foreign heads of state will remain classified, not all. We are in one of the most critical times of our country. Trump and others are working to balance that we're doing well for America, for the common person to endorse, while at the same time purify our government and remove the bad actors who are entrenched. There is so much string pulling and blackmail that we need to cut these off to truly gain the power granted to us by the patriots and hard-working people of this great country. Trump took out Al-Walid first, which cut a lot of puppet strings. There were lots of bad actors who needed to be removed. Obama, Hillary, and Bush are three of the biggest. But there was another bad actor that is connected to a lot of things and who hasn't entered the picture yet in this series. Hugh gave this individual a specific moniker for a reason. He is one of the biggest traitors in this war. Cue drop number 25 of November 1st, 2017. Follow-up to last post. Return to comments re Pelosi and John M. Some of us refuse to say his last name for a reason. This all has meaning. Everything stated. Big picture stuff. Few positions allow for this direct knowledge. Proof to begin. 11.3. We all sincerely appreciate the work you do. Keep up the good fight. The flow of information is vital. God bless. The flow of information is vital in a narrative war. Who is John M? Pictured here. John McCain was a traitor who portrayed himself as a war hero and a patriot. He was mentioned with Pelosi because he also took a trip to a country in secret that would reveal that he was also playing a part in the 16-year plan. No name was removed from the chessboard for a reason. And in my next article, I will tie him to Libya and the sum of all fears. And that is the latest brilliancy from the amazing Joe Lange. That was badass, Joe. That was wonderful. I want to throw something out there. Q just said everybody has the goods on everybody else. What if nuclear weapons are a euphemism for catastrophic blackmail? Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. So now I'm going to hydrate my skin with the best lotion in the world. Wow, this is terrible. Okay. There we go. Rainfall. There we go. You can see it now. Rainfall. It's kind of shiny. I need to get a nice picture. Ashley does good stuff. How do you like that? Tulip Blooms Rainfall. Go to tulipblooms.shop. So I do one pump. Bam. One pump. And here's the thing. One of the effects of this formulation is that it sets in and makes dead skin come off. Now, there is nothing wrong with removing dead skin because what you reveal underneath after you put it on is the gorgeous younger skin, newer skin underneath. So great to have it. And I have the scent of benzo and essential oil, which I keep mild in the formula. Go to tulipblooms.shop. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $10 from my grasping hands. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, all of you who are watching on. Oh, shoot. I did not mean to put this on Badlands Media's Twitter. That was a mistake. So anyway, sorry, Badlands Media. I did not mean to put that on that one, but well, let's take that off now. Oops. Let's try that. Can I take it off? We'll see. Anyway, I shouldn't have put it on there, but I put it on both of my YouTubes as well. Anyway, so thank you, everybody, for watching. This is amazing. I can't wait until his next piece and he gets to No Name. That's going to be badass. Don't forget to go to epicminerals.net. Don't forget to go to tulipblooms.shop. If you can, do me a favor and follow me on Twitter, retweet this. I'm going to send a quick note to John saying I accidentally broadcasted on the Badlands Twitter. So, oopsie. I'm not a detail guy. I don't know what it is. Anyway, glad we did this, guys. Thank you so much. And now, let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you tomorrow.